lovely young lady is Mary Pickford. She was a megastar in the early days of cinema. She was married to Douglas Fairbanks. So in 1962, when they were doing the big grand opening of the Movieland Wax Museum in Buena Park, California, who else do you turn to but Mary Pickford? I went to this museum, I think 4 times between 2003 and 2004, because it closed in 2005. I'm so glad I got there to see it. I took 24 minutes of video, which I'm going to share with you. I'm also going to give you a bunch of historical facts and a lot of information about this place. The museum was founded by Alan Parkinson after he had visited Madame Tussauds in London. Now, it costs a lot of money, but it was all right because Alan had a lot of money because he had invented Sleepies, a sleep aid medication. All right, let's take a look at a little bit of my trip. I'll show you the beautiful sign they have as well as the forecourt of handprints. This sign was 80 feet tall. Here's the first handprint we're going to see. We'll stop on that. This is the star print gallery of the Movieland Wax Museum. I just want to give you a couple details about this. It looks like there were about 50 different people that were on this. A couple of them, like this, were 2 people on the same one. Some had handprints and footprints. Some were just handprints like this. These started in the year 1980, and it looks like they went until sometime in the mid-90s. This particular one is Eddie Albert and Eva Gabor of Green Acres. Now you can see them putting their hands in the cement there, and then here they are unveiling their wax sculptures inside the museum. Okay, so after Green Acres, we've got Tom Selleck, followed by Hulk Hogan, who signed this in 1993, Billy Ray Cyrus, Vidal Sassoon, and then we have Cuban singer Celia Cruz, Gloria Estefan. Over here is Marcel Marceau. He was a mime. And then next to him is singer-songwriter Mac Davis, the host of the Lohman and Barkley Show from KFI Radio. Here's DeForest Kelley, then Johnny Mathis, Dorothy Lamour, comedian George Gobel. Over here is Peter Fonda, who wrote Easy R for Easy Rider on there. Eva Gabor again. This one was from 1981, one of the earlier stars or handprints on the ground. Then continuing over here next to what used to be the gift shop, we have Lou Ferrigno, the Incredible Hulk, Jack Klugman from The Odd Couple, Lonnie Anderson from WKRP in Cincinnati, Douglas Fairbanks, Dudley Moore, the great cowboy star Gene Autry. So there's June Allison's. We just saw that. This is after they closed, when they demolished everything. They just broke those up, hit them with a sledgehammer. Hollywood history just torn away. And it's really sad because these could have been saved, and they should have been saved. Some of the people that put their handprints or footprints there didn't do it at Grauman's Chinese Theater, didn't do it at Disney Hollywood Studios, and so those prints only existed outside of this museum, and now they're gone. So here's the placard that was in front of Mary Pickford. It says that she's wearing her dress from Taming of the Shrew. There's her husband, Douglas Fairbanks. And then Tom Selleck, and he's wearing his tuxedo from Three Men and a Little Lady. Some of these placards would say where their clothes or outfits were from. Other ones would just give trivia about the person or the movie. Here's the Titanic one with Jack and Rose looking out over the, I guess, hull of the ship. Here's Charlie Chaplin in The Gold Rush. Wonderful set. This was one of the best things about this museum, was each little set would be so ornately decorated. Moving around the corner, this is Mae West. It said on her placard she was escorted by Jack LaRue, Rock Hudson, and George Raft to the unveiling of the wax figure, and it's wearing her jewelry and hat. Around the corner, we've got Alan Ladd in Shane. And Alan Ladd is over here next to Clint Eastwood. Here's W.C. Fields from the movie Poppy. His placard mentions that he was the first movie star to ever appear on a U.S. postage stamp. And then we've got the Marx Brothers, from Animal Crackers. They mentioned that the harp that Harpo is playing is actually the inside of a piano. This is the movie The Merry Widow, starring Jeanette MacDonald and Maurice Chevalier. A lot of old-timey ones in this section. We've got the Little Rascals here in The Awful Tooth. So there's Alfalfa sitting in the dentist chair. I believe it's Buckwheat off to the side. And I think that's Spanky, Darla in the background. I tried to zoom in on all these placards so I could read them later, but the camera quality wasn't that good back then. All right, Laurel and Hardy. Huge setup for Laurel and Hardy. A bunch of silent film stars appear in this area. Over here, you've got Buster Keaton. And then this guy over here is Charlie Chase. And around the corner, we have this whole exhibit with Charles Laughton in the private life of Henry VIII. And that's pretty cool. Very cool to see. I don't know if the wardrobe is from the movie, but it looks so authentic. Here's Jean Harlow. Here's Rowan and Martin from Laugh-In. And then here's Elizabeth Taylor as Cleopatra. Now they would sprinkle in some of these old movies in with much newer movies, which was kind of neat to see near each other. Here's Kevin Costner from Dances with Wolves. And then right near him, you have Gary Cooper in a setup from High Noon. I want to talk about the history for a little bit. Look at this brochure. Movieland Wax Museum. And boy, if that's not the 80s, Ronald Reagan and Mr. T together at last. Looks like there's Lonnie Anderson putting her feet in the cement. Parkinson sold the museum to Six Flags in 1970, the biggest gathering of stars in the world. Now, Six Flags made a clone of the museum in Orlando, Florida, that closed in 1984. This was it, the Stars Hall of Fame. In 1985, 15 years after they had purchased it, Six Flags sold it to the Wax Museum at Fisherman's Wharf in San Francisco. And they owned it until it closed in 2005. They also owned their wax museum until that closed in 2013. Here's Raymond Burr as Perry Mason. And they've got a woman over here who I think is just an extra. And then over here, Lady of the Tropics, 1939 film. That's Hedy Lamarr and Robert Taylor. And then around the corner, I want to talk about this guy, LeVar Burton, the Reading Rainbow section. They've got a whole thing set up. Him here in his Letterman's jacket and all these props in front of him. I wanted to stop it there on LeVar Burton because he did an episode of Reading Rainbow in 1990 where he went to the museum, he saw the different figures there, and he helped them make his figure. So this is the mold that was used to make his figure. And then here's LeVar Burton trying on the eyes that went inside of his figure. And then here he is face to face with his wax figure. You almost expect him to say, hello. Sophia Loren in the movie Two Women wearing the costume from the film. Here's the set for PT 109 with Cliff Robertson playing John F. Kennedy. There's Marilyn Monroe. A beautiful dress. Over here, you've got Harold Lloyd. Beautiful setup. The movie was called Mad Wednesday. Very cool suit. This is John Gilbert and Greta Garbo in Queen Christina. Then over here, you've got Gene Kelly singing in the rain. And that was right next to Slim Somerville and Zazu Pitts. Here's Yul Brynner and Deborah Kerr in The King and I. And then this is Tyrone Power in the movie Blood and Sand. On this side, you've got Norma Shearer as Marie Antoinette, and there was a little placard that talked about how heavy her dress was. Over here, William Powell and Myrna Loy in The Thin Man. And then here's Donnie and Marie Osmond. They had a talk show at the time. This next one really blew me away. This was the set for Star Trek. And walking in here, and I was not a big Star Trek fan, but this looked so perfect and so real, and just was kind of amazing to see in person. But they had all the chairs and even the details, like if you look, not just their faces are great, not just the costumes, but like the background is perfect. You know, just the little details on the set. You could sit there and stare at it, which was kind of fun. There's Spock. I've seen pictures of him when he visited the museum. Here's Abbott and Costello doing the Who's on First routine. Now they're next to Walt Disney. And Walt, I thought, looked pretty good, but they had this weird Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs with him that dwarf looks right. I don't know why this one's bending over. Snow White doesn't look right at all, just looks like a regular human girl. Over here is Christina Saraleghi. She was a talk show host at a show called The Christina Show. Over here is Julio Iglesias. And then we go to one of the most popular sets from there. This was the Wizard of Oz set. Here's the cast of Bonanza. They have a whole Western area here. Over here you've got Roy Rogers and Trigger. And that is pretty awesome. This is Tom Mix, Western star. And then over here, the great Will Rogers. So at this point in the video, I had made it to the gift shop, which was in the center of the building. It was a pretty big gift shop, but we'll get a little bit of a look at it in a bit. And there was another door, which was for the Chamber of Horrors. Here's the Wolfman, followed by Frankenstein, and then Phantom of the Opera. This area was very dark, very difficult to record with the camera back then. There's Dracula, Sherlock Holmes, Leatherface. And then we've got the creature from the Black Lagoon. He was actually underwater. Over here is Vincent Price. And then this was Robbie the Robot. That was cool to see. Here's Anthony Perkins, Psycho. And they had the shower, I believe, right over here. And in the next room, it's The Exorcist. And then over here, you have The Shining with Jack Nicholson. You have to remember, this was before the days of Spirit Halloween, so this stuff was pretty amazing to see. Okay, Jason. And Michael Myers is here as well. I assume Freddy was here, but I don't see him on this video. But yeah, there's Michael Myers. And then here is the Terminator. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger. All right, so after the Terminator, I went back to the gift shop because it was basically like a circle. You went up, you saw everything, you turned around, and you came back. Very low light levels there. It was scary. Like you would walk through and you wouldn't know what was going to be the next thing around the corner, and you felt like you were in something where somebody might jump out at you, and some of those things did move. Now, this gift shop was not the original gift shop. I don't know what originally was in that middle area, but originally the gift shop was out in front. But by the time I went there, that was a functioning Starbucks. I bought a coffee at that place. So after I walked through the Chamber of Horrors, I'm back in this gift shop. I had seen all those wax figures, seen those big sets, and I went home. And I said, man, that was a great time. What a great day that was. And then I remembered that I had heard Mr. T was at this wax museum, and I didn't see him there. So I called on the phone, Movieland Wax Museum, and I said, hi, do you have a wax figure of Mr. T? And the woman said, please hold, I'll find out. Puts me on hold, comes back in about 45 seconds. Hi, no, we do not have a wax statue of Master P. And I said, no, not Master P. I'm looking about Mr. T, with the gold chains and the mohawk. She's like, oh, yeah, no, we definitely have him. I said, okay. And I hang up the phone. Now, I'm totally baffled by this. How did I miss Mr. T? He's about like the least missable character in any museum. And I felt like I couldn't have missed anything because I saw so much. I went back there. Turns out I had missed about half of the museum. That's how epic this place was, that I saw about half of it and thought I had seen more than enough for my ticket price. So then, the next time, I rushed through all that other stuff, got into that gift shop area, and then I went into the entire other side. Here's Debbie Reynolds as the singing nun. I think she's on like a Vespa. Over here you have a John Travolta next to Julia Roberts and Robin Williams. They're all standing in front of the Beverly Hills sign. There's another Robin Williams coming up, so stand by for that. All right, we're going to talk about this gold Rolls Royce in a second, but first I pan over to find Leslie Nielsen. Always was a fan of his. Now here's Vidal Sassoon. This Rolls Royce was actually there on opening day. They paid and had it shipped from England. They redid the interior in leopard print just to make it as audacious as possible. I think it's one of 6 that were in the world. There's Cantinflas. He was a Mexican actor. His most famous film, I think, was Pepe, or he also did Around the World in 80 Days. There's James Bond, Roger Moore. We have 2 nutty professors here, Jerry Lewis and Eddie Murphy. It's kind of cool that they put them together. I think that's pretty neat. Oh, look at this. The Three Stooges are over here. And here's The Godfather. I think the darkness, this is Dick Clark, by the way. Dick Clark was there for the unveiling of his, and Michael J. Fox as Marty McFly next to James Dean and Sammy Davis Jr., which is just kind of a weird pairing. I think the darkness kind of helped the figures look better, but it didn't make them record well. This is Michael Jackson, and Michael Jackson used to show up to the museum, have them remove his figure, and he would stand there and pretend to be the figure and jump out and scare people. And that made him very happy. There's Celia Cruz. We saw her handprints and footprints outside the museum. This is supposed to be Madonna. And then they have this whole very elaborate set of Gone with the Wind. There's Rhett Butler and Scarlett O'Hara. So this is the other Robin Williams section I was telling you about. There's Mrs. Doubtfire. And then here's Mel Gibson as Mad Max. And then some of these I just couldn't see all of them. I know Glenn Ford is over here. This one was great. Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers cutting a rug perpetually. And then Rudolph Valentino as the Sheik. And Dudley Moore as Arthur. That was pretty cool. This area was very popular. They made postcards of the Shirley Temple room. And this is super cute. Over here you get Carol Burnett. She's pulling on her ear like she always did on the show. Robert Stack from The Untouchables. This one I really liked seeing. So this is Roseanne in the set from Roseanne. And what I liked was you can see they just had a really cluttered, messy house. But at the time, all of these products were old. So it was very cool to see like retro products. Here's Dr. Zhivago. I mean, this is pretty impressive. Like you feel like you're outside in the snow. This is Ronald Reagan, President Reagan when he was in the movie Tennessee Partner, I believe. And they put him right near what was then the current president of the United States, George W. Bush. And now I found him. So my childhood idol, the super cool Mr. T. Now it says that he's wearing real gold chains. Now what's interesting is there are photos of this wax figure wearing an identical set of gold chains that they had made up for Mr. T for the A-Team, but this is not what he's wearing here. I wonder if some of the costumes and jewelry and other things had been stolen and replaced, or just replaced when the place changed hands. And that stuff maybe is elsewhere, sold off to someone else. This figure, by the way, appeared in the background of the movie Cursed with Christina Ricci. Now here we have Hulk Hogan, WWF logo. Just running wild. I think that's at Hulk Hogan's beach shop now in Orlando. And then over here you got Rocky Balboa, and there was a sign that said that Rocky had fought two other people that were in the museum in Rocky 3, and we've just seen them, but me as the videographer was like, well, I better run back and show you. So here, this is what I recorded back then in 2003, just for you guys. I didn't know you existed, but all right. Here's, I think, Bridget Bardot. This is kind of titillating. Probably scandalous when it opened. And then this is cool. This is Chuck Norris, and he could not be more scary right here. This area had a lot of tough guys. You had Bruce Lee, Mr. T, Hulk Hogan, Chuck Norris, Rocky, Aunt Esther. Here's the Sanford and Son set, and these were the original costumes, it said. And I believe much of the set dressing was also original, but I can't find any sign that says that, but I seem to remember hearing that someplace. Here's Jackie Chan. This is also probably one of the newer ones. Here's the Shogun section. That was a mini-series. And here's Keanu Reeves from The Matrix. And then we've got Superman. And that is the original costume they donated to the museum. Here's Metropolis, that big robot. I think it's interesting how many companies donated stuff to this. You know, I don't know if this would happen today. Here's the Love Boat. It's rather small. And then over here you got Barbara Streisand in Hello, Dolly. And then here's George C. Scott as Patton. Very good likeness. Ed Asner as Lou Grant. And I love Ed Asner. Just always see him every year at Christmas time in Elf. And very cool to see him in this. There's Jimmy Stewart in Rear Window. Look at those eyes. Over here you got Red Skelton. And then there was a Sister Act section, which is pretty cool. There's Whoopi Goldberg. Over here you got Jonathan Winters in a setup designed to look like his scene from It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, where he destroys the gas station. And nearby, it's Betty Davis. There's her Betty Davis eyes. Here's Mary Poppins. Julie Andrews, looking very much like the walk-around character at Disney. Here's Little Richard. And then here's Britney Spears, and this should show you Little Richard looked great. And then look, she's so well lit, and I think that kind of does ruin the illusion. This is the pretty elaborate set they had for the Poseidon adventure. This is one of my favorite New Year's Eve movies. Here's Andy Griffith from the Andy Griffith Show. And you've got Don Knotts there as Barney Fife. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, Redford and Newman. All right, this is Jim Carrey, and he is next to Bob Hope and Bing Crosby. This was in that gift shop area. So it's kind of off to the side in that area. Here's Kirk Douglas. Couple epic scenes here. You've got Kirk Douglas, and then right across the way, wait till you see this. Ben-Hur, Charlton Heston. And I just love this. I mean, full-size taxidermied horses. And these sets were so large. I mean, it really was impressive to see. This is one of the worst ones, I think. And the likeness isn't terrible. It's supposed to be Macaulay Culkin from Home Alone, but that's not the costume he wore. And it would have taken a very short amount of time at any thrift shop to come up with something that was closer, that the colors at least match what he wore in either of those movies. Here's the Beverly Hillbillies. And then here's Green Acres. So we saw at the beginning of this adventure we're on, we got to see when they got there to unveil the sculptures. Here's Elvis. Elvis was also in the gift shop area, and I pull back here so you can see all of the merchandise that was for sale around him. They had lots of merchandise that had nothing to do with any of the sculptures they had, but they certainly had a lot of Elvis stuff. All right, so African Queen followed by Rasputin and the Empress. This is Roy Clark. And then there's the Duke, John Wayne. And then this is a setup from Guns of Navarone. So sadly, they closed down in October of 2005. This is the sign on the door saying, we're done, no mas, we're finished. They did shoot the movie Cursed in that place, which was great. You can see some of the wax figures in that, I mean, throughout the entire movie, which was very cool. And then they auctioned the wax figures off to different places. Some of them went to the place in Fisherman's Wharf, and the Wax Museum was no more. And then they had the groundbreaking for this butterfly pavilion. They were going to have butterflies. You go there and look at butterflies. Go to a butterfly museum. Have a butterfly sandwich at their butterfly restaurant. They were ready to go, digging through that dirt. There's still nothing on the land. The city has purchased the land back from the butterfly people, so butterflies are never coming to that area. They have removed that giant sign. They've removed the Starbucks. They've removed everything. By the way, if you enjoy these videos, make sure and be like the Fonz, or at least his wax figure, and give it a thumbs up. Because if you give it a thumbs up just like the Fonz, YouTube passes it along to other people. And then if they give it the thumbs up, YouTube keeps passing this video on. And so please, be a Fonzie. Well, that's going to do it for this one. In a moment, a box is going to pop up here and here. On this side, the one that YouTube says is best for you. But on this side will be a day I spent in Richmond, Virginia. I went to the Edgar Allan Poe Museum. I went to see a hotel where Elvis had stayed. I also got to go where Gordon Ramsay had done an episode of his television show 24 Hours to Hell and Back. It was a celebrity-filled day. I went to where Sidney Poitier filmed his last movie explosion scene in The Jackal. all kinds of stuff. It's a hodgepodge of everything entertainment. So I hope you click on that one. Otherwise, check this one. And either way, come back tomorrow at 2 o'clock, brand new video. I'll see you tomorrow.